CNT120, Chapter 4 Lab. We are in Part 9, tcpdump. Hopefully you remember in your reading seeing tcpdump. On our Windows machine, we have Wireshark that we can run to do a packet capture. On our Linux machine, we could install Wireshark as well. We could go to the applications on here and install Wireshark. We would literally get the same result. Linux has something neat. It actually has a command line packet capture tool called tcpdump. So just so you read about it, we're gonna look at the equivalent here in Linux. So in my Linux, I kind of minimize my Windows for now, my Windows stuff for now. On my Linux, I'm just gonna minimize my file there. I'm at my command prompt. I'm going to make sure tcpdump is installed. I'm not sure it is, so we're going to do sudo apt install tcpdump. And this is super user do, application package, if you will, install tcpdump. And we'll use the password CNT class, and we're going to make sure it's there. And it looks like this was done. Yeah, it looks like we just got it done there. So we now should be able to actually run the command tcpdump, and I'm going to just show ICMP. I don't want to see all the other traffic that's there. So I'm going to run that, and then on my Windows side, I'm going to ping Linux is what I'm going to do. So I'm going to make sure before I do this, let me make sure I know what my IP address is. ifconfig, there we go. Oh my goodness. ifconfig, there we go. Here's the IP address of the Linux machine. So over here in Windows, I'm going to get a ping handy. I'm going to do a ping to the 172.21.40.60. So .40.60. And I have a successful. Okay, good. Now that I know the ping works, what I'm going to do on my Linux is I'm going to run this command sudo tcpdump ICMP. So I'm going to do sudo tcpdump ICMP. And now it's going to show any ICMP packets that happen to come in. So on my Windows machine, I'm going to ping it. And as I do, it's literally showing the ICMP packets coming in, coming from here. This shows the IP coming in from this computer 10, if you will, into .60. Here's the request, and here's the reply coming back from Linux back to PC 10. That happens to be the one I'm on. So here's the request reply. So this actually showed the packets just like I would be in Wireshark, but it's showing it as command line. Now, what I'll do here, after I'm done with that, I should be able to do a Control-C to stop that. So I'm going to stop that from functioning. There we go. And here is basically my Wireshark results at a command line in Linux. So I'm going to highlight that. I'm going to right click copy. And I'm going to, in my Linux file here, I'm going to put a couple here. I'm going to say part 9. I'm going to say tcpdump. And I'm going to paste that in. And there is my basically a packet capture from the command prompt in Linux, which is pretty slick. That's pretty cool. All right, so what I'll do now is part 10, I'm going to make sure I get my stuff submitted. So I'm going to take a minute. I'm going to make sure I have my files. Well, I have Linux open here, so I'm going to make sure. I'm going to scroll up here for part 2, and this is where it was helpful to put my labels in. Part 2 ARP, there's my ARP table. Here's my netstack command results from part 7. And scrolling down through, here is my trace results from part 8. And then last but not least, my tcpdump results here. So I know my Linux file is good. What I will do is I will take a second and log into D2L from here. I will log into D2L from this virtual machine. So I'll do, log into my hack, etc. And I will, here we go, we'll go to hack there. I'll log into my hack, log into D2L, and I will submit this text file for this part of my lab. I'm then going to move over to the Windows side, and I'm going to pull my Windows file up here, and I'm just going to make sure I have all the pieces in here. So here I should have my Ethernet header fields. There they are. I should have my ARP command results. So there's the ARP command results. Here is my UDP header fields. Boom. Here's my IP header fields. Boom. Here's my IP version 6 header fields. Boom. Okay. And then we have our netstack command results. There they are. And then I have my trace results right there. The only other thing I need to make sure I have is I need to make sure I have this three-way handshake graph. And I had that in my documents folder here. I did it in my documents. Here's my three-way handshake that I did earlier on in the lab. So I want to make sure I have that. So from my Windows machine, I'll make sure I save my Chapter 4 lab file and my three-way handshake. All right. So I will log into D2L from the Windows side here, submit those two. Again, on the Linux side, log into D2L over here and submit that Linux file. And then I'll be done with my Chapter 4 lab.